Hi everybody, it's Donna. A long time ago I started a project called Smash Book, made from a composition book, and I did part 1 and never did part 2, and I've had a lot of people ask me how the book was completed, so I thought it was about time to get back and show you how I completed the book. Actually, I did show you how I completed the book, and it all filmed nicely. However, I wasn't in frame, so you got to see a corner of the book here and there, and the rest of the time, not much at all. So I took another book apart, and we're going to do a little bit of it together, and then I will show you where I'm at with the completed one and what I'm doing with it. My original concept of a smash book has changed a little bit. I am using it more for a sketchbook type of thing. Some of the things that I use all the time, some of the binding systems, card sketches, and things like that. So I will show you what I have completed so far. I'm still just beginning the actual decoration of the book. So the composition book, when we ended the first video, and I'm going to try to link it to the bottom of this one. I've not ever done that before. If I'm not successful, if you just go back and look at my videos, you will see Smash Book from a Composition Book Part 1, and you can check it out there. But we took the composition book apart and trimmed the papers. And this is what we end up with. Papers and covers. Okay? So the next part of the process is to do some covering of the covers. And for this, I'm just going to use some cardstock. And I'm kind of partial to purple, so let's try some purple cardstock on this one. And I did use designer paper on my other one, but I think this purple cardstock will look just nice. And I'm just going to use some quick dry glue and go all around the cover. Get it up there in those corners good. And then what I'm going to do is just line up my paper at the top and at the sides, at the bottom I mean, and at the right hand side the best I can. It just is not, there you go. This is an easy way to do it so that you don't have to actually do a lot of measuring. And we'll just come over this way and use the X-Acto knife to trim it off. And I think I'm going to need a new blade before too long, but meanwhile it's going all right. There. So, how easy was that? Now what I can do is take and just round these corners a little bit because the book is round on the corner. And then I use a sanding block to just even off the corners. And I'm sure you've all seen covering books before a million times, so it's not a whole lot new. But this is an easy way to do it. And the inside of this book, I think I will make, let's do the gray. So we'll do the same thing. Remember, if we're going to use the bind it all, you need to get your decorations on the page and on the cover if you want it to be in the binding. I don't like the looks of that piece. Okay, we'll line it up on the edge, straight edge, and on the bottom as best we can. And I hope I'm in frame. it almost cut. Here we go. There we go. And I'm just going to trim these corners again. And this time we'll turn it over and do them this way. You always want to go down and away from the cover. If I go the other direction, I'm going to lift the paper up off the cover that I just glued on there. Okay, front cover done. Oh, I see a little bit of trimming I can do here. I didn't get that one off too well, did I? There. Good enough. Alright, now I'm just going to put some purple on the back. I'm not going to cover the inside of the back because I like the measurements that are on it. So for now we're going to leave it just as it is. These dry measurements and liquid measurements are pretty handy to have. So I'm just going to leave them. Okay, there we go. I'll fix that corner a little bit. And I think I trimmed a little too much on this corner. But we can fix that later with some decoration. Alright, so now we have front and back covers. Okay, now the next thing we work on is the paper. And what you want to do is, if you want to glue pieces together so you haven't got so many pages and make them a little thicker, you can do that. I'm not going to do it for the sake of binding this right now, just so you can see that process. I did do it on my finished project and I'll share that with you. But I'm going to start with the covers and getting them ready for the binding. And the way I did it is to make a binding top and bottom. Sorry, I didn't get this one trimmed at the corner. Okay, I made 6 holes at the top and 6 holes at the bottom. And the way I did that was to line the edge of the book up with the edge of the bind it all. Cut it. Line the other edge up with the other edge of the bind it all. And cut it. And then you'll see the 6 holes. Do the same for the back cover. Lined it up. Actually, this is the front cover. Line the other end up. And then you have it. So you have the front and the back cover. Now you do the same. These pages, if you look at the pages, they are just about the same height. You do it this way. They're just about the same height as the book. So I'm going to do the pages exactly the same way. I'm just going to take them, line one edge up, bind it, pop the holes in, lay the other edge, and pop the holes in. Okay, now I'm not going to make you sit here while I punch all the rest of this paper, so I'm going to pause for a minute and I'll be back as soon as I've got it all punched. Okay everybody, I have all the holes punched and I'm going to be using 1-inch rings. It's probably a little overkill for right now, but it'll give me a lot of expansion room. So I have the two covers, the front and the back cover, and the pages. And we're going to start with the pages and putting the rings through from the back to the front. Sometimes it's a little tricky when you have pages top and bottom because the rings want to slide out of one while you're doing the other. But they go in eventually. I have had more issues trying to make this book. I swear it was the book that was not meant to be made. So, now I'm going to do, well, the first time I did it, and I had it on camera, I got all of the pages in and very nicely bound it, but I forgot to put any of the covers on. So, we did it a second time. And I finally was successful, except then it wasn't showing up on the video. So, the third time, as they say, should be a charm. We hope. Okay, I have the pages in. Now my covers, this is the front cover. The front cover goes here, and the back cover, which would normally be underneath like this, okay, I'm going to bring it out and put it on top of the front cover so that you see the inside. And the reason for that is so that when these rings close, the closure is in the back of the book, and it just makes it easier to turn pages. So we get to bind it all back out, and inside, I don't know if you can see inside here, there are measurements, these lines, and I have the line set on 1 inch. So I'm going to just hold the book up, hopefully, and put one of the sets of rings in and push down to bind it. Nice, very nice. Do the other one. You want to get them centered as much as you can. Push it in and bind it. And there you go, and that's really all there is to it. Now we take the cover and roll it around to the back, and you have a very nicely bound book. And you can separate it and do whatever you want with it to make it your own. And that's how I used a composition book to make a smash book, or in this case, a card sketch book. Now this is the one that I had finished just earlier. And you can see that I have started to do some of the decorating. It is by no means done. I used paper on this one, designer paper, that came from a die cuts with a view stack called Seaside Yacht. And an interesting thing about this paper, you can't really tell by looking at it here, but the first 3 sheets of paper in this pack have a canvas coating on it. So it's paper, but it has a canvas coating. There's a red striped one, the one with the anchors, which is the one I used, and a floral pattern. And they are all canvas coated. And so I thought it was kind of a different piece of paper to use. This is a nice stack. It has a lot of good papers for summer seaside type of albums. There was a cut-apart, 2 cut-apart pages, and I have used some of the cut-aparts already for this album. So this is the way that it turns out when you finally finish it. And hopefully we're on the screen because it's not going to get done again. I just decorated the front with some of the cut-aparts. On the inside, I have a pocket here One of the cut-aparts here I've just put in here as a tag. And what I did is, on this book, I took pages, and I took 3 pages together in a lot of instances and kind of glued them so there'd be a little smaller sections. And then I put, which I think is a good idea, some washi tape along the edge before I punched it. It's just going to be a little bit more reinforcement for this paper because the paper's kind of thin. I took some cardstock and just covered the front of the page. These are some of my sentiment stamps that I had, and I thought, well, I'm just going to stamp a bunch of them on the front page here. If we turn the page, I've just started putting in some card sketches. And these are card sketches from Mary over at Card TV, or Card Crazy 09, I think she is on YouTube. And she has done a whole series in card sketches. I thought they were really kind of clever. She gets the card already in an envelope. I'm not to that point, but I just like the sketches. I have another section that I just put some paper in, and we will continue with doing some other decorations as we go along. I'm going to put in, for instance, a sample of my hidden hinge binding system that I use over a lot of my mini albums. That is the one that is from Kathy Order, and so I'll be putting that in. I'm also going to use it to write measurements down for some of the things that I make a lot, so that you'll have the paper measurements, especially if they're kind of odd, like some of your pop-up cards or easel cards. That way, when you go back and forth to make them again, you'll have all of the measurements there, and it's just easier to cut your paper and get it ready. So that's where my book is right now. And you can see I really did finish part 2, and it actually came out part 2, part 3. And so now I have 2, and we'll play around with this. I'm sure there's lots of things you can use for these books, and you can see that there is a goodly amount of room for expansion, so I can put some good stuff inside here that might even be a little bit heavy, and it won't take away from the binding of the book. So there you go. There's my Smash book, i.e. craft book, made from a composition book that we altered. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope that answers your questions. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.